My name is Shelly Berman-Rubera, and I'm the president of Small Business Results. I'm a business strategist and a coach. And today I'm excited to have my guest, Bost, who's a videographer and the president of Third Rascal Productions. Good morning, Ann.
Good morning, Shelly. Pleasure to be here.
So what we're hoping today is to provide some knowledge, tactical tips, and hopefully humor as a result of a conversation that Ann and I had about Zooming. And what we know is that in today's world, we're Zooming and Zooming. I myself am booked from 9 this morning until 4 this afternoon on Zoom, all day, sitting in a chair on the camera. And it's new to a lot of us. It's so new. So Ann and I were having a conversation about it and some of the things that we noticed. Not that either one of us have it perfect yet either. We're all on the curve of learning. But we noticed some things that we thought would be helpful to you, the Zoomer, as well as our kind of unique style of delivery. So really, how to improve your Zoom communication is our goal today. And tell us a little bit about you and tell us what's really the first thing that you notice on Zoom.
What I notice about Zoom is the framing that people use. So fundamentally, you have to take into account where the camera is and where you are in relation to the camera. So right now, I'm looking at the camera and trying to make eye contact that will go through the camera to the person watching on the other end. What I find sometimes is that people don't really know where the camera is. And so they all of a sudden, we are at the other end looking at their ceiling and then they're just a head in a box, right? I mean,
well, even we saw someone the other day. Can you show us what we saw?
It was literally like, yeah, they're just disappearing from the frame. And what you get a sense of how comfortable people are on camera. And, it's not a comfortable spot for a lot of people. So if you think about the camera and you think about where the camera is and your frame in relation to how you want the conversation to feel, right? So this is a nice, comfortable frame. I want this myself in the middle of the frame, looking at the camera, because this is how Shelly and I would have a conversation normally.
Remember, I told you the story. I was on a call with a networking guy, and he was here like this. And so I don't really know him, but I said at the end of the conversation, may I give you some feedback about your framing? Well, you actually taught me the word framing, but framing. And I said, you're way off to the left. And he said, no, I want to be. So I said, why is that? And he said, because I love that piece of artwork, which was, I'm hoping he doesn't see it. But anyhow, I won't say anything negative about the art. But the bottom line is that it's distracting. Where do you want my eye to be? Do you want me to keep thinking, why is he way over there? Or the goal of the call is, like you said, to make me feel like I'm talking to you since I can't be with you.
Right. So if you're not comfortable being right in the center of the frame, I mean, a couple of degrees off to one side or the other is fine. But what you'll find sometimes is people get very comfortable and they start leaning over here or they start disappearing from the frame. So having a good sense of where you are in the frame as you're trying to communicate with the person on the other end is really important. That's step one.
One little tip is that before I go on to Zoom, and really, I want to say I'm figuring it out too, where's the best space and how can I not feel claustrophobic and how do you portray? But if you go into before a Zoom call, if you go into new and you don't schedule anything, you can actually see at that point, how do I look before I get on, rather than get on and start with all the futzing or the moving around. You can get yourself set up.
Right. And don't forget that Zoom has that little feature where it can sort of brighten your appearance. So if you haven't found that setting and clicked on it, you should do that. So Zoom will do a little bit of a glamour shot approach for you. So
okay, even I didn't know that.
Yeah.
So the next thing that we wanted to talk about was the difference between light. Yeah. every time I was doing a Zoom call, I would get on the camera and I feel pretty good about myself. You know, I take good care of myself. I'm vain. But I'd get on the Zoom call and I'm like, geez, when did I become someone's grandmother? Like, I look awful. How can I do this? So I actually said to my daughter, can you come here? Is that what I look like? And she said, no, you need a light. So I'll show you. This is what I was looking like, right? Well, I immediately bought the light, not expensive. We're going to give you all these tools in the chat. I'll do that in a minute. But you can see, and I'd like you to talk about, and we're not saying, like, I am not saying this is perfect yet, but the vast difference between my own self-confidence and what I feel you're seeing and my ability to be myself is enormous. So can you talk about lighting and how it affects people?
Absolutely. So you want to be the brightest thing on your screen. So Shelly's using a light that's designed for close-up work. I am just using the lights that I have in this studio. So I have a floor lamp that's set on the other side of my computer because you want a light that comes at your face rather than, you know, one that's behind you. Again, this allows you to be the brightest thing in the screen. And I'll show you what I mean. So if I take this light and I move it over here, suddenly, you know, I'm not the brightest thing in the screen, the back wall is. And so all of the attention that I'm trying to get through this mode of Zoom goes right back here to the shadows, and you're waiting for the, you know, creeper to come down the stairs and attack me because I look like I'm in a horror film. So again, it's a very simple, this is just a floor lamp. So you can use what you have in and around the house. This is a fun time to sort of play around with. If I take a floor lamp and just take the shade off, does that give the nice light that I need to sort of shine on my face and make me the brightest, most interesting thing in the screen?
Right. And I just did put in the chat the light that I bought, the microphone that I bought, and the webcam that I bought. Certainly not endorsing anything, except that they were not a lot of money and they really improved what I was producing. Mm-hmm. So the third area we wanted to talk about is background. And, you know, how important that is, how it's a reflection of you, how it really needs to be professional. One Zoom call I listened to, this woman was quite funny. She said, well, doesn't my office look beautiful? Look at all of this behind me, orderly. She had flowers, and she said, I'll just tell you one thing. You don't want to see anything on the other side of this camera. So I think, even to give you credit, because I'm learning from you, you know, just last night, I moved my camera, my whole setup, to the other side of my desk because while I thought being in front of all my books was professional, it was also giving me no depth, not from the camera, nor as a human being. I felt claustrophobic, I looked claustrophobic. So I encourage you, not only, Anna, you're going to talk about that, but ask people. Ask people. I asked Anne for feedback, and don't be afraid to say, yeah, you looked like you're smashed in the bookcase, but, you know, expect to hear, you want to make it better. It's all a curve of learning.
Yeah.
Can you talk about the background?
Sure. Again, this goes back to, are you the most interesting thing in your screen? So I love looking at people's bookshelves and the things that they have around them, because it is a reflection of them. And I do feel like, oh, I'm getting to know Shelly a little bit better because I have this glimpse into her life and surroundings that we've never had before, right? You're all of a sudden stepping that much closer into somebody's world by coming in via the Zoom. However, if you give people too much to look at, if your background is too interesting or too cluttered, then again, they're going to be very busy looking at, oh, did she really read that book? Or did she just have it because, you know, she knows people are going to be looking at Zoom? So to the extent that you can have some interesting things in the background, so it's not just like a blank wall. So I'm looking at my own background, which is pretty much a blank wall, but I have a little bit of attention to detail over here with my microphone. I've got a few things in the background that you can see, so it doesn't look like I'm just, you know, in the middle of nowhere, but it's not going to really detract from me in my orange shirt looking at the camera and trying to make a connection with you.
Right.
And so that's
one of the things I learned is it's, you know, like I said, we're all a work in progress. This is new, right? Before, I made sure my house was clean. I had a great jacket or a suit on, whatever, and my clients came, and that was it. But now it's really working on building up your studio, because this is where we're going to be communicating for a long time. So a couple of things you can notice, I put my brand behind me. So it's more, you know, just makes me look more like this is my office, actually.
yeah, it's a reinforcement. Yeah.
Yesterday, I had talked to my virtual assistant and asked her if she could design a background that is for Zoom, that's my brand. And so she is actually building a screen, which you could talk to, because they have them here in Zoom as well. But I had her build me one that's a reflection of my brand. And then I'm understanding that I need to buy a green screen to be able to project the image in a clear way. Because some of the screens, which I wanted you to talk about, some of the Zoom screens, people look like they're actually sitting on them. It's weird looking. It's not.
Their perspective is not great. I mean, it's kind of fun to, if you're on a virtual happy hour, or if you're, you know, just catching up with friends and you all want to pretend like you're sitting on that Golden Gate background. I mean, that's fun. For the challenge with those backgrounds is they are kind of a green screen-ish thing. So if you're looking straight onto your camera, it looks okay. But the minute you start to add action or start to move, you actually begin to disappear, because the edges, the way the camera sees the edge of you versus the background gets a little muddy. So I find them personally a little bit distracting, because somebody will be talking and they'll move their head and half of their face disappears. It's a little disconcerting.
It's a little unappealing, and also what I've noticed is when you're on those screens, if you move your hand, it's almost as if the hand was disassociated from the image.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So one thing, my Dell XPS computer that I love, the camera that's in it made me look like I was looking off to the left. So I bought a Logitech webcam. And it's really made a huge difference for the quality of what we see. So again, in the chat, I put the selfie stick I bought, which takes us to the next topic, is sound. I bought a snowball, a blue snowball, and it's sitting right here. It's plugged into the computer. But if you're doing any sound recordings or you're on Zoom a lot, you'd want to get rid of that tinny, echoey sound. And as again, these little tips, I don't know, the whole thing might have cost me under $200, but it improved my studio setup tremendously.
Yeah, and the other thing to keep in mind, whether you're buying the plug-in mic or not, is what can you turn off in your environment. So before you get on the call, sit in the quiet and see, oh, there's a dehumidifier that runs behind me normally through the day. So I can go in and turn that off. You know, if you have an air conditioner running, because this is, you know, hot week, we're getting into the summer, can you turn that off for half an hour or the hour? Or if you can't do that, you know, do you have headsets, you know, earphones with a microphone built in? Anything that you can do to just reduce the ambient noise. And, you know, we talked about framing, we talked about getting a nice background. What people may find is, oh, I've got this great background in my living room, so I'll go set up there. But if your living room overlooks a very busy road, then you're going to have the road noise that you have to compete with, which may defeat the purpose. So
right now is a miracle. There's a lot of big yards here, no landscaping. Like, you're kidding me.
Right.
You have this big call, and all of a sudden, five leaf blowers and like. So yeah. I left the air conditioner on overnight so I could shut it off for our call.
Perfect.
So, you know, I think the thing that's most important is we want you to feel natural. Doing video, as you know, It's not really comfortable. A lot of people are not doing it because of the lack of comfort, but video for your company, video for your brand, video for YouTube, video for your website, using Zoom. Just be yourself. You know, it can't be wrong, particularly if you pay attention to some of the points that Ann and I are talking about. One of the things that I do is I wrote a little script, just Shelly, Ann, just a bullet point. So I'm not reading anything, but I am making sure that I'm staying on topic and keeping it as brief as possible. You want to give people information. They don't want to be like, and that's unfortunately, it's what we hear a lot. Just tell us what you want to tell us. And that's what we're trying to do. So, and one of the things I'd like you to talk about is, so now someone records a Zoom call and they want to use it for marketing.
Sure.
Can you talk about what you can do?
Sure, absolutely. So we can take that recording and we can either, chop it into segments if you're looking for small sound bites, or we can just clean up where people may have stumbled over some words, and then add a little intro and an outro with some branding and some details about who you're talking to and the date of the call. And you can, and if you want a little music under each of those, we can put that together, and then you can use it, post it on your YouTube or your website, wherever that you can direct people to that. So it's easy, it's fun. I'd be happy to help with anything like that. And I know, Shelly, you have a specific offer that you're putting out there to your clients.
Right. So one of my products is called Interview Video Marketing. And basically, although this really I consider a collaboration, this is something that we did together, but it's still in the format for what my program offers. And that would be that I take a client and I help them to come up with 10 questions that they would like to be asked. What's the 10 most important things that someone else should know? We write the answers together. And then we practice the delivery of them so that they're delivered in a way where the audience hears it, gets it. You can then take those 10 questions and use them as your FAQs on your website. And then we take the whole video and we give it off to Ann or to a videographer if you have your own, whatever. But we break it into not only one whole interview, but we break it into 10 segments, because now we're asking a question and answering a question. And the program is an hour on Zoom, so you also have the ability to call in a client and do a client testimonial. And the end of the package, Interview Video Marketing, means that not only do you finally get to be interviewed, right, for your product and service, get something on a YouTube channel, but you get speech coaching, you get business coaching, because we have to figure out what are the best 10 questions that people would want to ask. And you end up with an entire video library of at least 10 plus a whole one. So I'm excited about the offer. I know your work is great. I've hired you to do a video keynote that I delivered, and you did a grand couple and a client, big client.
Yep. So,
this wasn't really, we want you to have access to us. This wasn't really a sales Zoom. This was that Ann and I thought between the lighting, the dropping in the ocean, the disappearing, the framing, that this would just be kind of a fun, simple tutorial to make your Zooming better.
Yep. Yeah, because it doesn't look like this is going to go away anytime soon.
No, just try to have some fun with it and build on it. I'm still going to be upping my office and my studio and see what I can do to make it look better.
Excellent.
And I'm going to keep laughing and working with you. You're great.
It's my pleasure, Shelly, always.
All right. I'll talk to you.
All right.
All right. Goodbye, everybody.